Welcome back to A Slice of News, where I cut you off a slice of news. Less than 48 hours ago, the president promised us that a whole civilization would die to never be brought back again, basically saying that the Iranians had until 8 p.m. and then they were going to be bombed into oblivion. But as should come as no surprise, 1 hour before his self-imposed deadline, the president decided he was not Iran into non-existence after all. And actually, he'd reached a 2-week ceasefire with Iran, so things were actually okay now. At the last minute, President Trump did what he always did, a pattern so common with him that we've developed an acronym for it. TACO, meaning Trump always chickens out. And that's exactly what he did here. He made his saber-rattling threats violent, and then when it came to follow through, he walked it back and made some excuse why actually he didn't have to do it, and really raises the question if he ever intended to in the first place. And I think there's a pretty solid argument that he did not, that just like so many other things in his time as president, it's just all been an attempt to look strong, to appear like the powerful, decisive leader, when of course the reality is he is none of those things. Also, unsurprisingly, his ceasefire didn't even last a full day. It's getting to a point it's hard to be sure if he actually wants this conflict to end anytime soon in the first place. He and many people like him see these sorts of conflicts purely as a money-making endeavor, all about finding ways to profit monetarily for their own personal gain. So will a lot of foreign civilians die needlessly? Absolutely. Will a lot of American soldiers go overseas and die? Absolutely. But to our current president, none of that really matters. Just think of all the money that can be made here. In the incredibly small time the ceasefire was set to at least be in effect, they were planned to have toll for ships to go through the Strait of Hormuz. Now that it was set to be opened again, I have no doubt the president was at least anticipating to receive some of that incoming revenue. Because when you look for any sort of motivation to keep this conflict going, and to go from peace deal to peace deal, ceasefire to ceasefire, is all about finding ways to make money that at least eventually ends up in his pocket. It's one of the many things his followers don't seem to really grasp, even after all this time, that everything he does is about personal enrichment. It's not about helping the American people or making things better for the country as a whole. It's all about his own benefit, monetarily in particular. The conflict in Iran seems to be the topic that never ends because it seems to be the conflict that never ends. And I really have to wonder what kind of long-term effects this is going to have on our reputation with the rest of the world going forward, not just the Middle East in particular. For what feels like forever, the United States has been fighting this reputation that we're warmongers who just go over anywhere we want and try to impose our American values and start fights seemingly for no particularly good reason. And to an outside observer, I can't imagine this conflict doesn't look exactly like the proof they're looking for to say that that is exactly what we are and what we've always been. While he's shown time and time again that our president can't be trusted, our president doesn't keep his promises. To those on the outside, it's America that doesn't keep his promises and can't be trusted. So even after he's gone, that reputation of not being a trustworthy nation is going to remain. And in the post-Trump times that are coming, we can't afford to have that hanging over our head the way it is right now. Frustratingly, that, amongst many other things, are going to be his legacy, entirely alienating all of our international allies and making us look even worse on the international stage. He's reinforced this notion that America is bad. America is not a place you want to go and be. And once he's gone, the real question is, why should anyone change their mind about us? They've seen us at our worst. They know what we're capable of. So why trust us again? The trust and reputation we had with other nations was hard won, but now it's going to be even harder to win back. And to be honest, I'm not entirely sure it can be. Not fully, anyway. As tempting as it is to focus on the short-term repercussions, such as the crushing effect it's had on the U.S. economy and how it's hurt the gas prices and made them go up astronomically, the current Iranian conflict is going to have effects that are going to echo through years, decades, generations even. And since it's looking like boots on the ground is inevitable in Iran, There's a good chance this is going to turn into a 21st century Vietnam, a military conflict that's going to shape a generation and be something that we're going to look back and wonder how we could ever let happen in the first place, because it will seem so obvious that we should never have started it. We already know from experience just how damaging that sort of conflict can be, both to the American people and to Americans' reputation abroad. For the most part, we all agreed that Vietnam was not necessary, that it was all built upon incorrect ideas and outright lies. And still to this day, half a century later, there's still a great deal of regret that we ever started it at all, and that we sent all those thousands of young men overseas to die for what feels like pretty much nothing. So one would hope that with that historical context, we would be more hesitant to repeat that lesson. But it seems over and over and over, Republican leaders decide that they want to try it one more time. It'll be different this time. The Second Iraq War, Afghanistan, over and over, the same lesson not being learned again and again. But the Iran conflict seems even more like Vietnam than even those, because it feels even more pointless, even more unnecessary. Because once again, we have a leader in power that has no value of human life whatsoever and has no issue sending American youths overseas to die, some so young that they probably couldn't even have voted for him in the last election because they had not yet reached the minimum age to register to vote, but who are now apparently old enough to go overseas and die for their leader and his own personal gain. I have absolutely no doubt that in the future they're going to look back on our current reality in shame, how we could have allowed these sorts of things to happen, both the Iranian conflict to occur in the first place and also to elect a leader so devoid of human empathy that he would allow it to escalate to this point, that he would threaten to eradicate an entire civilization on social media. A leader so bad, some people went all the way to the moon to get away from him. As a nation, we deserve better. Yes, even the people that vote for him deserve better than him. Our president has shown us that he does not know how to lead. He does not know how to deal with international conflicts except with violence. And in our modern times, we should be dealing with those conflicts with words, not weapons. That kind of attack-first mindset where we have to be the ones to go first and attack before they attack us is what's kept us so far behind from progressing beyond our baser instincts. Yet frustratingly, so many in our country cheer him on for exactly that. They feel, as he does, that violence portrays strength, and that is the ultimate goal, to appear strong to everyone around us so they don't mess with us. It almost makes you weep when you stop to think just how much public good just a portion of the military budget could accomplish. We're told time and time again that we can't afford universal health care. We can't afford child care and mental health care and keeping all of our citizens fed and housed. Yet we can fund seemingly endless military conflicts and war? That just doesn't make sense. When the administration tells us that they can't fund public good because they're fighting a war, it really says we don't want to fund those things because we would prefer to fight a war. Not that they can't do it, it's that they choose not to. We are unquestionably a nation of abundance. It's just that where that abundance is directed and concentrated are not the places that it should be and would be beneficial to everyone. Americans don't have to go hungry. They don't have to go without health care and education. That's a choice that's being made. There's not circumstance. It is a conscious decision to funnel the funds away from those things and towards military spending, towards so-called national defense. But that happens because war is profitable, not for the average citizen, but for those that have big investments in arms manufacturers and defense contractors, many of which are within our own government. The push for constant military conflict is really a push for personal enrichment for those in positions of power. And the average person is just more cannon fodder, more meat to be put into the grinder, while the dollar bills, soaked in blood, just keep pouring into their pockets. The current administration may be the ones who are doing it the most egregiously and transparently, but they're hardly the first and certainly not going to be the last, unfortunately. It's hard to dream of a world where all Americans are able to exist happily, well-fed, housed, and well-educated, when increasingly it feels the only place that can occur is in a fantasy. Despite that, I do believe that we can be better and that there will come a time where we will be. We will not be defined by our military conflicts and profits for the 1% at the top. The way things are now is not forever. But that change is frustratingly slow, and sometimes it feels like as a society we won't survive the wait. But I like to believe eventually, in time, that change will come, and we will be so grateful when it does. And all the pain and suffering it took to get there will have been worth it. My only hope is I'll live long enough to see it. But I guess that's for the future to tell. Alright guys, that'll be it for this episode of A Slice of News. I've been your host, Mr. Slice, and until next time, when I cut you off, another slice of news. And don't forget to rate and review the show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you find it.